Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I think one of the hallmarks of someone who would like to find what really happened in a situation or wants to find the truth is to accept that previous opinions, assessments could be changed by new information. They would alter the nuance, the flavor, or sometimes the entire view on an issue. Here we have, I think, a new discovery, and a new discovery, at least for me, and that is the head of the Hydra against the Russian Federation, and not only, it's not located in Washington, D.C. Obviously, it's located in a global, how should I put it, the global matrix in which there are forces outside of countries and presidents and politicians and bureaucrats. These forces have an interest, economic interest, financial interest, power interest, and they use these baboons in order to achieve them. Sometimes there are faceless interests, sometimes we can put a face on that particular interest. Like in the banking system, you can point out to 18, let's say 12, and you're going to find out who's who, what's what, for instance. I'm talking about Napoleon Bonaparte. So, and London. What's going on here? The center of the attacks against Russia is not located in Washington, D.C., and it hasn't been located in Washington, D.C. It is in London. This is my latest, how should I put it, conclusion based on the evidence provided by the fact that Trump kicks out Zelensky and Zelensky runs to London, and London, Great Britain, puts together a summit to kiss Zelensky's ass, even alienating the biggest guy in town, which is the United States of America. When I have here a few articles to show you how this mollusk of Sir, and that's another thing that should tell you, he's a Sir, nobility, Sir Starmer, is embracing and kissing this thug's ass, who is Zelensky Stein. I made a video on the 16th of January claiming this. UK is the enemy of Russia. Plain and simple. UK wants to destroy Russia using Ukraine for now. And I used here the 100-year partnership agreement between Ukraine and UK, which I think, my friends, that this stood between United States of America and Zelensky's agreement for the minerals. I think the Brits got that first. Or at least in this partnership agreement might be a clause that forbids the Ukrainians, not Zelensky, the Ukrainians to do such a thing with the United States of America. That means they choose the customer, so the lady of the night, choose the customer or the pimp in charge of the lady of the night, Zelensky and Ukraine. So the pimp choose the customer first, which was Great Britain, and promised to give the lady of the night to the first customer. First came, first serve, first come, first serve. So now the United States of America has to stay in line or somehow push to the side the first customer. I think that's what it is with this 100-year partnership agreement. Now, UK Prime Minister prepared to deploy peacekeeping troops in Ukraine, even if the Americans are against that. Against another clue. This was on the 16th of January. UK ready to deploy peacekeepers in Ukraine if needed. Not needed for some, needed for some. UK and France, and here it is UK, let's put UK, and France secretly discussing troops for Ukraine. So you may say, well, we have two of them. No, it's not two of them, because this would have happened in Paris, not in London. London is the source. When Boris Johnson showed up in what? April, May 2022, after the Turkish summit, or at least peacekeeping session between the Russians and the Ukrainians, remember? When he showed up over there, I thought I thought that he was sent by the Americans. Now I don't think so. I think it's 60-40. 40 Americans, 60 the guys behind the UK. I think Boris Johnson was sent by these forces who harness both countries, don't get me wrong, US and UK. So let's go back to the first article that I would discuss today to show you the head of the Hydra. This is the center. And I'm not the only one saying it. I heard the Russians, some Russians with much more knowledge, secret knowledge, than I have. And they claimed that the problem is Great Britain, London, the guys in London, not the guys in Washington, D.C. I think one of them was Medvedev, Dmitry Medvedev, the former president and prime minister of the Russian Federation. But since now Medvedev is supposed to be an idiot because he says certain things that are right in your face, well, I think I take that to the bank nowadays. So, Associated Press. The latest. Britain is hosting a summit of European leaders to shore up support for Zelensky. I thought that the support was for Ukraine. But do you think that Associated Press baboon who wrote this piece put Zelensky over there just because that was the first word came to his mind or her mind? Oh, Meloni is over there too. So let's see who's that. This is by Associated Press. We don't know who wrote it, probably at the bottom on the March 2nd. So remember, Britain is hosting a summit to support Zelensky after Zelensky, like a thug, insulted not only the American people, the office of the President of the United States of America, the President of the United States of America, and the other officials present in the room. That was an insult. It is like a guy that you invite, you invite is a loser. He's losing. He gets pummeled by someone. You invite him in your house and say, man, I'm gonna, support you, not help you. I will support you, but you gotta give me something. And the guy says, you know what? And he starts cursing your wife, says your food is not good, your children are ugly, and you stink. And you say, so if I don't invite you in my house to offer you this support, not help, support, assistance, however you want to call it. I don't want to call it help, because when you help someone, you don't expect things in return. When you help someone, thank you very much, that's all I need. Thank you. So you come here, you insult over us, okay, you know what? Go back in your nasty stew over there where you came from, get pummeled by those guys over there, and I don't want to talk to you. And the allies, the West, should stay with me. Or they should have their own foreign policy, but they don't. They don't. So, that's the way I see things. And now those guys, your friends, say, you know what? And your allies, your vassal states, they say, you know what? We didn't like how you treated Zelensky. You kicked him out of your house, a guest. That's not nice. Well, that is in the chronology of events. That's somewhere like a P, A, B, C, D. When you get to P, that's when I kicked him out. But the A was that I said, I will help you. I will support you. Not help. I will assist you. Come over. I'm your good guy. I could do things for you. That's A. Okay? Now I can go to A if you want before A. And that is what? I don't know. But it could be who started this. And you got to look in the mirror. Because you got the same actors. So again, I spoke with someone yesterday over the phone. And that person said, here in Canada, things are exposed as how bad Trump is. You don't kick a guest out of your house after you invited him. Well, if the guest is a fucking prick, you kick him out and his family out. Out. I did this before, just so you know. So anyway, here it is. Not friends, but people who behaved miserably. Britain is hosting a summit of European leaders on Sunday to shore up support for Ukrainian president. It's not Ukraine, it's Ukrainian president. Is this has to do something with Mr. Has anything to do with, was it 1812 Rothschild? Wasn't that the Balfour Declaration? Was that the British entering the wars in behalf of, is that what it is? Are you owned? You destroyed you. Great Britain destroyed its empire, but they won against Hitler. But then they let Soviet Union standing with a criminal, but the right people, Zelensky Steins, were among the leaders of the Soviet Union. It was not the Russians. Remember, Stalin is Mr. Djugashvili. Remember Trotsky? Yeah, by then he was gone. But Trotsky, remember Kaganovich, the killer of what? 8 million Ukrainians? He was the guy who was, yes sir, to Mr. Stalin and others. Yogoda, and I'm not going to go over the whole list. After an astonishing Oval Office blowout with President Donald Trump that left many uncertain where the once staunch allies stood, the London meeting has now taken on greater importance in defending the war-torn ally and boosting the continent's defense. This, with boosting the continent's defense, is a mirage and is based on a lie of a boogeyman who lies in Moscow. Instead of embracing the European, they embrace the alien. Why? Because they're controlled. They're not all the states. A few states show up over there. And that tells you who's controlled and who's not. I guarantee you, Hungary is not over there, or Slovakia. Guarantee you that. Poland was first over there. Why? Look at Poland's history for instance, from 1946 up to about 1950 some. See who were in charge of Poland. Like in your face. Again, not only. Let's move on. British Prime Minister Keir... Sir, for you. Keir Starmer, who is hosting the leaders of more than a dozen. That means more than 12. That's 13. In Europe, there's what? 40-some states. Countries and other officials embraced Zelensky on his arrival in London on Saturday, saying he is determined to find an end to Russia war in Ukraine. He is determined? Did you understand? Did you get it that this guy doesn't want to end it? Did you get it? Well, all right. Starmer announced Sunday that Britain, France, and Ukraine have agreed to work on a ceasefire plan to present the United States of America. That plan that emerged, he said, in talks among the country's leaders following the White House spat. Next one. Zelensky set for European summit in London after Trump summit. And here it is. The thug disrespects the host. And that's another thing. When you come to someone's house, first, I saw a comment on Facebook and I would like to respond to that. This is not a Ukrainian traditional attire. These are not traditional clothes. Because that person on Facebook said, posted a picture of Trump and Mohammed bin Salman, showing up with his, traditional Arab suit. How you want to consider it? If Zelensky would have shown with, what do the Jews wear? I don't remember what the Jews, do they wear anything? Do they have tradition or anything? I don't remember. So anyway, let's say he pretends he's a Ukrainian. He would show up with a Ukrainian embroidered, beautiful, like icon from the Romanian traditional clothes. And I show up like that. And Trump would say, okay, you're good, man. But no, he shows like a thug. He goes to a, jerk-off meeting. And then we're supposed to respect him? Oh no, Trump was the bad guy. Respect the office. If I go right now and I meet someone important, I'm not going to show over there in shorts like that fucker, another guy from the senator, what's his name from Pennsylvania or whatever he is, another Stein. So here they are, shaking hands, very proud of yourself. Zelensky embraced by British Prime Minister a day after White House blowout. So in case of Russia attacking you, who's going to defend you? Who's going to ask for help? Let's say you're going to ask this guy or you're going to ask the Americans. So you lose, my friends, value, importance of things. You don't know who's who, what's what anymore. I mean, these guys in Europe, really, they think they can break away from the United States of America. They should. They should be their own countries. The problem is they're not. They're owned by someone else. And that someone else owns the United States of America continuously. But seems like Trump doesn't agree with certain things. Let's see further. So they embrace. Nice. Did they kiss too? Like French kiss I'm talking. Next one. Right here. Zelensky promised Britain's full backing with calls to cancel Trump's UK visit. So this guy is promised full backing. Okay, when you say full, like entire, all, I learned in, I think it was the second grade when we learned from Tovara Shurada, my first teacher. diagrams, diagram, and it's like this is one diagramma multimilor, I think it was, the diagram of the groups or something. So you have this group and this group, all the groups here. None of these persons in group A don't belong in group B, and no members of the group B belong in the group A. They're not, because they're two little diagrams made out of whatever. But if you go and intersect them, then you say these people here don't, these people don't, but the guys intersecting, both they do. Now when you say all, that means the entire thing in a second grade. So I'm going to go by the second grade. When you say all the support, is there entire? What was the word? Full. Full means entire, all of it, 100%. Well, United Kingdom has nuclear weapons. That is included in full. It is included. United Kingdom has subversive activities all over the world. Will they activate them? They have submarines. So full, they have, I don't know, an economy. They have, no, they don't have it, they say, but anyway. How do you call those? Colonies. They don't have colonies now by the term, but by the jure, but by the fact, no. So full, good job. So that means that all the British people, including the British people, you know what I mean? If he says you go and fight for Ukraine, you got to go. Why? He's in charge, he has the authority. So full, so he is using your family and your life for what exactly? Not for Ukraine. Did you hear the title before? For Zelensky. Because Zelensky is the ally, not Ukraine. Don't miss that little how do you call it, aspect. Here, the standard. Starmer insists Ukraine has, again, full backing of UK as he meets Zelensky at number 10. Next one. Ukrainska Pravda. Britain will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. But United States won't. United States withdraws its support. So what are you going to do? Remember when Trump asked Starmer in the White House, so are you going to fight Russia alone? Are you going to take on Russia alone? The truth was exposed. The emperor has no clothes. You are just a paper tiger. One island, one bomb. And doesn't have to come on it. It can come near it. Make a big wave, and the wave will wash away, unfortunately, the good people of Great Britain. But here's the way it is. Remember, these guys are the head of the Hydra, and in the same time, look what they do. Ukraine and UK sign $3 billion defense loan agreement. This is from yesterday. Look at them. So they sign it. Excellent, excellent. What does that mean? That you, my British friends, are going to what? Do what? Get rich. I wonder if after the war, it's going to be an after the war in Ukraine. All right? I don't think it's going to be a continuous war. After the war, will the new Russian-owned government or the government owned by the Ukrainian people, will they agree with these loans that the previous traitors signed for them in their name? So will that happen? Let's say I'm drunk right now and I go and get a loan and go to the bank and get a loan with, I don't know, 3,000% interest rate. But I'm drunk. I'm crazy. Or maybe, I work for someone else. And then when I come home and I sober up after I don't know how many hours, I say, God damn, I'm not going to do this. This is a new administration in Ukraine. Sobered up. I say, what the fuck? Can you go back to the bank and say, no. That's not my signature over there. I'm not going to fulfill my side of the deal. No, thank you. 3,000% interest rate. Can you do that? Now, if you do that, do you think the world economy will not tell you, and the world opinion, or how do they call it, whatever they call it, international opinion, international community will say a contract is a contract, so you are a bad payer, your credit down, we're going to impose sanctions on you, we're going to fuck you up. So all these things that are thrown right now on Ukraine by this, I will call them nicely, drunk people, they're not drunk, they know what they're doing, will that fall on Ukraine or the household after you sober up? Or will the Russians say, no, you don't have to pay anything, default everything, off, you're on my sphere of influence, come to BRICS, and that's it. Which one's gonna be? Because what's going right now, these guys are putting chains around the neck of the Ukrainian people, Ukrainian nation, around the wrists and ankles. That's what they do. Who's gonna liberate them? Putin? They should liberate themselves in the first place. But how do you start that? You have to recognize that the guys in charge of you are not your people and do not work for your own interest, like they should. supposedly. Ukrainska Pravda. Zelensky hasn't done anything wrong in White House, says Starmer. So Zelensky hasn't done anything wrong in the White House, says Starmer. You know what I wish? No, I wish Zelensky behaves in the same way with Starmer. Starmer will not care because he's a mollusk. He doesn't have a backbone. He's a invertebrate. Doesn't have vertebra. He's nothing. He's just a person who, if you look at seaweed living, and then the waves and the seaweed, the waves are pushing it. That's Starmer. Unfortunately, this is the level of the politics in Western civilization. Hasn't been like this always. Lately, why everything goes like in a bazaar. Is that an influence from somewhere? It sounds very familiar. Bazaar. Is that in the Middle East somewhere? Okay, money changing? No? Alright, forget about it. We need Jesus Christ to show up and pull the freaking tables off and send them out of the temple. Don't we? Well, for you guys over there, the believers, you should be all for it. Unless you think that the money changers and all those guys in the temple were okay. And no. That's exactly what it is. So Starmer said nothing wrong. Let me tell you what was wrong. Imbecile Starmer. First, dress code. Dress code, that's insulting. Secondly, how do you stay over there? Did you see his body language, Starmer? Did you see Zelensky's body language? And all of... Did you see that? Rolling eyes, speaking under his breath. Interrupting, calling people. I'm not saying to call people out, but it's a way to call people out. You have to understand the proportion. You are a thug. This guy is the president. You can call him a thug too, but he has more power than you, infinite more power than you, which is Trump. You come over there and take a shit in that person's house, they kicked you out. So he did nothing wrong. I hope that happens to you, but he's not going to care. I hope some British people, the real British people, will see that and say, but hey, they have Starmer, so I don't have much faith in the British people anyway, because every country, every nation deserves its leaders. But I think our nations are hijacked. I'm convinced that our nations are hijacked by alien forces, and I'm nice saying forces. And those forces do not work in our interest. They use us like hamsters or gerbils or mice on that really spinning wheel to provide them with energy in order to promote their interest, financial interest and economic interest in other parts of the world where there are other little hamsters, but at least they work for their own society. And then, as I said, this is the principle of a bazaar. Bazaar, the pimp bazaar. You know what a pimp is? Right. So a pimp is a leader of a country, a politician, someone in charge of the country with authority, legal authority. Now, if that person, the pimp, has to sell something to this big interest, the big interests are the customers that I explained. And the countries, the nations, are the lady of the night that the pimp owns, otherwise gonna smack it. So this guy, the pimp, the presidents, the prime ministers, the kings, the whatever you have over there in charge, your Führer or whatever, the guys have the lady of the night and they're gonna sell her to the customers, and then the customers will use the lady of the night however they want, you know what I mean, to promote their interest, which is their pleasure in this case. That's how I see it. The principle of the pimp bazaar. That's exactly where we are. And the sooner, I'm not saying that those interests are alien, all of them, some of them are, but it's clear that sometimes those interests work ethnically in a direction, but they don't. So when it's about one country, you immediately realize that those interests don't care about the money, don't care about the power, they care about the ethnic interest. You know what I'm talking? It starts with an I, and it's located around the Mediterranean Sea. And just to make some, by exclusion, it's not Italy, it's not Iran, it's not Iraq, it's not, okay? So you know who that is. Thank you very much for being with me again today, my friends. We're in bad shape. The center of garbage is in London. I'm not saying those guys are, but those guys are the ones used by the interest to destroy, to take over Russia, then China, and so on. And then, how do they call it? How do they say it in the Ezekiel, whatever he was, wasn't he? When he says that we're gonna feed from the fat of the nations, we're just gonna wait for them, the kings, to bring their wealth to our little town that we took over long time ago from the whatever Amorites, Canaanites, whatever we took it from. No, all right. Know your history so you don't repeat the mistakes. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.